All right. So I had explained to us in looking at the topic of probability that probability is the bridge between descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics looks at efforts to try to understand the characteristics of a variable in numerical or in quantifiable terms, depending on the scale of measurement of that variable. So you are either doing summary, trying to summarize it by doing measures of central tendency or measures of dispersion, or you are summarizing by understanding the frequencies and the percentages that are at play within that particular variable as it is distributed in a population. So that's basically descriptive statistics. Inferential statistics talks about using the values of the statistics in a sample to make inference on occurrences or population parameters, occurrences in the population or population parameters. So whatever you're seeing in one or more samples, you're trying to ask how that translates to the population. Because research hardly ever takes up the entire population, it is important for us to have an idea of how to do inferential statistics so that we can find out whether what we are seeing in the sample is a true reflection of what is happening in the population or not, and what we are seeing in the sample, how exactly it pans out if you want to extrapolate to the population. And so probability, which is the likelihood of occurrence of an event. When they say what is the probability of Morocco winning, which country did they play today in the World Cup? What's the probability of that happening? What's the likelihood of that happening? And that is what probability is. And the probability values always run, this is going faster than my hands. The probability values usually run between 0 and 1. So the likelihood of occurrence of an event, a numerical value is attached to it, and that numerical value is any number between 0 and 1. Any number between 0 and 1. And 0 means the event cannot occur. It is impossible for that event to occur. While 1 means it is certain that the event will occur. So you move from completely impossible to 100% completely certain that that event will occur. And that is the probability measurement. But we know that you would hardly have a probability of 0 and a probability of 1. So that most times your probability value lies between 0 and 1. The closer to 0, the less likely the event is to occur, while the closer to 1, the more likely the event is to occur. So probability is the science of uncertainty. We are not quite sure. You know, when you say what is the likelihood, it's not certain. You're not certain that Morocco would beat. I think it's Argentina now. You're not certain that any country coming into the World Cup will make it to the top 4 or top 2 or win the World Cup. It's not certain. So, but how do you try to have a scientific way of dealing with uncertainty? So the probability theory allows a decision maker who has limited information to analyze risks. So what is the risk of an event occurring? What is the likelihood of an event occurring? It enables you to choose between different causes of action. When you don't really know it's not certain what the outcome will be, but you can tell by various methods what the outcome is likely to be while still making room for uncertainty. And so it's important to know the risks that are involved and how to scientifically evaluate those risks. And so we rely a lot on the probability theory, which is science of uncertainty, to be able to find that. So there are two major approaches to probability. Remember, probability is the likelihood of the occurrence of an event. And because there's a likelihood of occurrence, there's also an uncertainty about that event occurring. And there has to be some kind of scientific way to estimate or evaluate the likelihood, the chances, by understanding your risk. And the two major approaches to probability is subjective or objective. Of course, you know that subjective is no longer what we use or rely on in data science, in biostatistics. We're more likely to look at an objective approach rather than a subjective approach. But I will explain what these actually mean. And when you look at the objective approach, it's either a classical approach or an approach based on relative frequency. Again, I can tell you